Let's begin with lesson 1, a letter to God. Lencho was a hard-working farmer who lived on a hill with his family. His crops needed rain, and he was delighted when it finally rained. The raindrops were compared to coins, as they promised a good harvest. Soon, a hailstorm destroyed his fields, leaving his family without food. Lencho had strong faith in God and wrote a letter to God asking for 100 pesos to replant his crops and survive. He addressed the letter to God and dropped it in the mailbox. The postman laughed and showed it to the postmaster, who was moved by Lencho's faith. The postmaster and his employees collected 70 pesos and sent it to Lencho, signing the letter as God. Lencho was happy but not surprised to receive the money, as he believed God would help him. Upon counting, he became angry because 30 pesos were missing. He assumed the post office employees had stolen the rest of the money. He wrote another letter to God asking for the remaining 30 pesos and warning not to send it via the post office, calling the employees a bunch of crooks. The story is ironic because Lencho doubts the very people who helped him. Now let's see the question answers. Whom did Lencho write a letter to? Lencho wrote a letter to God. What did he ask for and why? Because he had complete faith in divine help. He asked for 100 pesos to replant his fields and support his family. A hailstorm had destroyed his crops, leaving him without food or income. What were Lencho's feelings when he found the letter with money in it? What did he do after opening it? Lencho was not surprised to receive the money as he had strong faith in God. However, he became angry when he found only 70 pesos instead of 100. He believed that God could never make a mistake and assumed the post office employees had stolen the rest. He wrote another letter to God asking for the remaining 30 pesos. He requested not to send the money via the post office as he thought the employees were a bunch of crooks. Why does the postmaster send money to Lencho? Why does he sign the letter as God? The postmaster was moved by Lencho's faith and did not want him to lose hope. He collected money from his employees and also contributed from his own salary. He managed to collect 70 pesos and send it to Lencho. He signed the letter as God to ensure Lencho's faith remained unbroken. What are the raindrops compared to and why? Lencho compared the raindrops to coins because he believed they would bring him wealth through a good harvest. Big raindrops were like 10-cent coins. Small raindrops were like 5-cent coins. The rain was essential for his crops, but his joy was short-lived when hailstorm destroyed everything. Who does Lencho think has taken the rest of the money? Describe the ironical ending of the story. Lencho believed that the post office employees had stolen the remaining 30 pesos. He never doubted God but doubted the very people who helped him. The irony is the story that the post office staff collected money to help Lencho, but instead of being grateful, Lencho accused them of being thieves. This highlights blind faith, innocence, and the misunderstanding of human generosity. Next chapter, Nelson Mandela. The inauguration ceremony of South Africa's first non-racial government was held at the Union Buildings in Pretoria. Nelson Mandela was sworn in as the first black president of the Republic of South Africa. Dignitaries and politicians from over 140 countries attended the event, making a victory over apartheid. South Africa had suffered from decades of white supremacy, where black people were treated as outlaws. Mandela felt overwhelmed with a sense of history, recalling the struggle against racial discrimination. He remembered the sacrifices of heroes like Oliver Tambo, Walter Sisulu, and others who fought for freedom. Mandela redefined courage, stating that it is not the absence of fear, but the ability to overcome it. He believed that every person has two obligations towards family, caring for loved one, towards society and country, working for the rights of people. Under apartheid, black people were denied their basic freedom and were punished for standing up for their rights. Mandela realized that freedom is indivisible, meaning one cannot be truly free while others remained oppressed. He believed that both the oppressor and oppressed need to be liberated, as oppressors lose their humanity by suppressing others. Now, question answers. What did Nelson Mandela pledge when he was sworn in as president? Mandela pledged to end racial discrimination and build a society based on peace, equality, and justice. He promised that no one would be oppressed under his government. He expressed his gratitude to all those who fought for freedom and acknowledged their sacrifices. What is the greatest wealth of a country, according to Nelson Mandela? According to Mandela, a country's greatest wealth is its people. He believed that the true strength of a nation lies in its citizens and not in its natural resources. He admired the determination and courage of South Africans who fought against apartheid. What are the two obligations every man has in life? Mandela stated that every person has two major obligations: obligation towards family to take care of their parents, spouse, and children, obligation towards society and country to fight for justice, equality, and freedom for all. Under apartheid, black people were denied their basic rights as they were oppressed and isolated from their family and society. What, according to Mandela, is true freedom? True freedom is not just political freedom, but also the freedom to live with dignity and self respect. It means the ability to make choices, express oneself freely, and live without fear or oppression. Mandela believed that one person's freedom is connected to the freedom of others, making it indivisible. Why did Nelson Mandela feel that both the oppressor and oppressed are robbed of their humanity and must be liberated? Mandela believed that oppression dehumanizes both the victim and the oppressor. The oppressed suffer pain and humiliation, while the oppressors lose their humanity by treating others unfairly. He felt that both groups needed freedom. The oppressed needed justice and equality. The oppressor needed to be freed from their own hatred and ignorance. True liberation would only come when everyone is treated as equal. Two stories about flying. His first flight. The story highlights the importance of courage and family support in overcoming fears. A a young seagull was afraid to fly, believing that his small wings wouldn't support him. His parents, brother, and sister had already learned to fly, but he was hesitated. The parents cajoled and scolded him, but later left him hungry to push him towards flying. Unable to bear hunger and heat, the young seagull saw his mother holding a piece of fish. As he tried to grab the fish, his mother moved back, making him step off the cliff. Initially, he was scared, but as he flapped his wings, he realized he could fly. He soared in the air, finally landed on the sea, where his family celebrated his first flight. Why did the baby seagull not take his first flight? The baby seagull was afraid that his wings were too weak to support him in flight. He feared falling into the sea from the high cliff. His parents tried to encourage him, but he remained hesitant. Describe how the baby seagull took his first flight. The young seagull was left hungry as his parents wanted him to learn to fly. His mother tempted him with a piece of fish and moved away as he tried to grab it. As he leaned forward, he lost balance and fell off the cliff. Initially, he felt terrified, but soon he started flapping his wings. He gained confidence, soared high, and finally landed on the sea, where his family rejoiced. The Black Aeroplane. The narrator was flying a Dakota plane from France to England to meet his family. The sky was clear and he followed the Paris control's instruction to turn 12 degrees west. Suddenly he saw a huge storm ahead, but decided to fly through it. As he entered the storm, his compass and radio stopped working and he lost contact with Paris control. His plane was tossing and tuning, and he had very little fuel left. Just then, he saw a mysterious black aeroplane flying near him. The pilot of the black plane signaled him to follow. After following the black aeroplane for half an hour, he miraculously saw a runway and landed safely. After landing, he asked the control tower about the black aeroplane, but they informed him that no other plane was in the sky. The narrator was shocked and awestruck at the mysterious incident. Why did the narrator take the risk to go through the storm? The narrator wanted to reach home as soon as possible to be with his family for breakfast. He saw the storm ahead but decided to take the risk instead of turning back. He believed he could navigate through the storm safely. What miracle happened with the narrator? When the narrator's plane lost all navigation support, he saw a black aeroplane flying beside him. The mystery pilot guided him through the storm despite the narrator's having very little fuel left. After landing, he was shocked to learn that no other aircraft was in the sky that night. The identity of the black aeroplane and its pilot remain unknown, making it a mystery. From the diary of Anne Frank. Anne Frank, a 13-year-old Jewish girl, wrote a diary from the Nazis during World War II. She named her diary Kitty and treated it as a true friend. She wrote the diary because she felt lonely and believed people had more patience than people. Annie adorned her father, had an elder sister, Margot, and had once lived in Frankfurt before moving to Holland. She had fond memories of Mrs. Kupris, her Montessori school teacher. In 1941, her grandmother fell ill and passed away in 1942, which deeply affected Annie. Annie thought teachers were unpredictable, but she had good relations with most of them except Mr. Keesing. Mr. Keesing, her maths teacher, often punished her for talking too much in class. As punishment, he made her write an essay, a chatterbox, in which she justified that talking was a student's trait. When she was punished again, she wrote another essay, an incorrigible chatterbox. Later, her friend Sane helped her write a poem titled Quack, 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 said Mistress Chatterbox. The poem humorously described as a duck family where the father duck punished the ducklings for quacking too much. Mr. Keesing enjoyed the joke and stopped punishing Annie for talking too much. Why did Annie think of writing a diary? Annie felt lonely and had no true friend to share her thoughts with. She believed people had more patience than people. She thought no one would be interested in the diary as she was just a small girl. Writing helped her express her emotions and experiences during difficult times. What joke did Annie play with the help of her friend on Mr. Keesing? Mr. Keesing punished Annie multiple times for talking in class and asked her to write essays as punishment. She first wrote an essay on a chatterbox defending her talkative nature. Later, with the help of her friend, Sane, she wrote a funny poem titled Quack, 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 said Mistress Chatterbox. The poem humorously described a father duck punishing the ducklings for quacking too much. Mr. Keesing took the joke in right good spirit and never scolded her again for talking. Glimpses of India, a baker from Goa. Portuguese introduced the tradition of bread making in Goa. Though the Portuguese are gone, Goan bakers still exist. The baker was a well known figure in the village, often seen as a friend and guide. He visited twice a day, once in the morning and again after finishing his rounds. His arrival was marked by the jingling sound of his bamboo stick. Children loved the baker and eagerly waited for the bread bangles. Bread was a staple food in Goa enjoyed with his hot tea. Special breads like bol and bolinhas were a must for wedding, festivals and Christmas. The baker wore a unique knee-length frock called kabai. Baking was a profitable profession and bakers were often plump, showing their prosperity. The bakers collected their bills at the end of the month. How is a baker important to the Goan people? The baker played a vital role in Goan society. Bread was a daily necessity, eaten with tea, curries, and sweets. No special occasions, marriages, Christmas, or festivals was complete without bread. Children loved the baker because they enjoyed bread bangles. The baker was a respected person and had a stable income. The tradition of Goan bread making continues even today. Next lesson, Kurg. Kurg or Kodagu is the smallest district of Karnataka known for its natural beauty and culture. The best time to visit Kurg is from September to March. Kodagu people are believed to be descendant of either the Greeks or Arabs. Their culture is reflected in their martial traditions, marriages, and religious practices. Kodavas wear a traditional black embroidered coat called kupia. The Kurk regiment is one of the most decorated regiments in the Indian Army. Kodavas are the only people in India permitted to carry firearms without a license. The river Kaveri originates from the hills of Kurk. The region has diverse flora fauna, making it a paradise for nature's lovers. Kurg offers various adventure sports such as rafting, trekking, and rock climbing. Tibetan monks and monasteries are also found in Kurg, adding to its uniqueness. What is the story about Kodavu people's descent? The Kodavu people or Kurgis are believed to be descendants of Greeks or Arabs. One theory suggests that a part of Alexander's army settled in Kurg after being unable to return. Their martial traditions, marriage customs, and religious rites reflect Greek and Arab influences. Their dress kupia is similar to the robes worn by Arabs and Kurds, supporting the theory of foreign descent. Now, tea from Assam. Rajveer and Pranjal were traveling to Assam by train. Rajveer was excited and admired the lush green fields and tea gardens outside the train window. Assam has the largest tea plantation in the world. Legends about the origin of tea. Chinese legend. A Chinese emperor discovered tea when leaves accidentally fell into his boiling water. Bodhidharma, a Buddhist monk, chewed tea leaves to avoid sleep while meditating. From China, tea spread to Europe and other parts of Asia. Pranjal's father managed a tea estate called Dekhyabari Tea Garden. They saw tea pluckers working in the garden, mostly women wearing bamboo baskets. The best tea is produced between May and July. What are the various legends about origin of tea? Chinese legend. An emperor discovered tea when tea leaves accidentally fell into his boiling water. He liked the taste and tea became popular. Indian legend. Bodhidharma, a Buddhist monk, chewed tea leaves to stay awake while meditating. From China, tea spread to Europe, where it became a popular beverage. What glimpses of India have been presented in the lesson? Which one do you like the most? The chapter gives glimpses of India's natural beauty, cultural heritage, and historical influences. Kurg, known for its lush greenery, martial tradition, and adventure sport. Goa, famous for Portuguese tradition, baking culture, and festivals. Assam, known for its vast tea plantations and rich history of tea production. Madam rides the bus. Valyamai Vali was an 8-year-old girl who was curious and independent. She loved watching the street from her doorway, observing the bus passing by. She became fascinated by the idea of riding the bus, secretly planned her trip. She gathered information from passenger and learned that the town was 6 miles away with a fare of 30 paise one way. She saved 60 paise to take a round trip to the town. One afternoon, she boarded the bus alone and enjoyed the journey, scenery, and people around her. On the way, she saw a young cow running in the front of the bus, which made her laugh. She, she did not get off in town as her goal was only to experience the bus ride. On her way back, she saw the same cow lying dead on the road, which made her sad and silent. She reached home safely, and her mother never realized she had gone on an adventure. Why does the conductor called Wali Madam? The conductor playfully calls Wali Madam because of her mature and confident behavior. Despite being a young girl, she acted like an adult, refusing help and offers from others. She, insisting on buying her own ticket, declined the conductor's offer for a cold drink and remained independent throughout the journey. The conductor admired her boldness and mockingly treated her like a grown up lady, calling her madam. And even when we do not know about something, we often can't understand it completely. Can we? Elaborate with reference to Madam Rides the Bus. This line reflects the idea that experience is different from knowledge. Wali knew about life and death, but she did not truly understand their impact. She laughed at the playful cow running in front of the bus, but felt deep sadness when she saw it dead on the roadside. This incident made her realize that harsh reality of life and death, something she had never fully understood before. It shows how life teaches us lessons through real experiences rather than just hearing about them from others. The sermon at Banaras. Gautam Buddha, originally named Siddhartha, was born into a royal family. He was disturbed by the sights of suffering, old age, and death, which led him to renounce worldly life. He left his palace and family, became a monk, and meditated under a peepal tree for 7 days. After achieving enlightenment, he became known as Buddha, the Enlightened One. His first sermon was delivered at Banaras, explaining the nature of suffering and the path to peace. A grieving woman, Kissa Gautami, begged Buddha to bring her dead son back to life. Buddha asked her to bring a handful of mustard seeds from a house where no one had ever lost a family member. Kissa Gautami searched but found no such house, realizing that death is universal. She understood that selfish grief must be abandoned, and only by accepting suffering can one achieve peace. Buddha taught that one who overcomes sorrow will be blessed and free from suffering. How did Gautam Buddha make Kissa Gautami understand the common truth of life, that death is common to all? Buddha asked Kissa Gautami to bring him a handful of mustard seeds from a house where no one had died. She searched everywhere but couldn't find a single house untouched by death. She realized that death is inevitable and that grief is universal. This made her understand Buddha's lesson that one must accept the reality of death and move beyond grief. What had happened to Kissa Gautami's son? Why couldn't she get a handful of mustard seeds from any house? Kissa Gautami's son had died and she was in deep sorrow. She thought Buddha could revive him and begged for help. Buddha asked her to bring mustard seeds from a house where no one had ever died. She searched everywhere but found no such house, realizing that death is common to all. According to Gautam Buddha, how can one become free from the grief of death and decay? One must accept suffering as a part of life instead of clinging to personal griefs. Attached to material things and people causes pain, so one should detach from worldly desires. By following the path of wisdom, meditation, and selflessness, one can achieve peace of mind. Letting go of grief leads to liberation and ultimate enlightenment. The proposal. Lomov, a 35-year-old nervous man, visits his neighbor Chukubov to propose marriage to his daughter Natalia. Chukubov is excited, but soon a silly argument over oxen meadows break out between Lomov and Natalia. Natalia strongly believes oxen meadows belong to her family, while Lomov insisted they are his. Chukubov also gets involved and Lomov leaves angrily. When Natalia learns Lomov came with a marriage proposal, she regrets the fight and asks him to return. Lomov comes back, but another argument starts, this time over whose dog is better, Squeezer or Guess. Lomov gets so worked up that he collapses due to his weak heart. Shukubov quickly declares the engagement and forces them to kiss even as Natalia starts arguing again. The play humorously portrays the absurdity of fights over trivial matter in relationships. Justify the title of the drama, The Proposal. The story revolves around Lomov's marriage proposal to Natalia. Instead of discussing marriage, they argue over land and dogs, delaying the proposal. Finally, Chukubov forcibly gets them engaged, making the proposal happen in an unexpected, humorous way. The title is justified as the entire play is centered on a marriage proposal that almost doesn't happen due to silly arguments. Describe how Natalia reacts before and after knowing the real purpose of Lomov's visit. Does she act sensibly? Before knowing the purpose, Natalia argues aggressively over Oxen Meadows with Lomov. She insulted him and forces him to leave. After knowing the truth, she regrets her actions and begs her father to bring Lomov back, not acting sensibly. When Lomov returns instead of discussing marriage, she argues again, this time over dogs. This shows her childish, impulsive nature, making the situation comically ridiculous. Besides Oxen Meadows, what is the other important cause of quarrel between Lomov and Natalia? Besides Oxen Meadows, Lomov and Natalia argue over their pet dogs. Lomov claims his dog Guess is better while Natalia defends her dog Squeezer. Endless argument leads to Lomov having palpitation again, making the proposal more chaotic and humorous.